What if Izuku Midoriya was a werewolf? Part 2. We start off the day after Deku's interaction with All Might. The day before, he had managed to attempted to save Bakugo from a sludge villain who had just tried to attack him not too long prior. He then encountered All Might on his way home, to which he then offered Deku to become the 9th user of One For All. As we all know, if you listen in to the previous episode, Deku agreed, becoming the 9th user. We start off with Deku heading down to Dagobah Beach as All Might had asked him to meet him there so he could help him prepare for the UA entrance exam and help him get used to One For All when he's ready. Deku goes down to the beach and sees All Might waiting there for him. As Deku approaches All Might, he sees that the beach would be littered by garbage for some time, as the level of the trash around it is impossible to see the entire place without going right to the edge of where the trash lies. All Might tells Deku that his training for the next 10 months is to clean the beach so that he would properly train his body. Although Deku is a bit confused by this, he knows this would be the best way to help train his quirk and prepare himself for One For All when he eventually gets it. All Might then asks him to lift up his shirt, to which hearing this, Deku just blanks and says, "What?" At that moment, All Might had to clarify that he wasn't going to do anything, he just wanted to see how far along his body was so he can judge how much training he would need before he can inherit One For All. Deku then proceeds to lift up his shirt, already showing a decent build, but All Might still thinks he needs a couple of months before he can truly hand it off One For All to Deku. So over the next few months, Deku, using his quirk, cleans up the beach along with his staying on a steady work regimen and studying for school, as he studies up for the UA entrance exam and getting lost sleep whenever he can. Or making up a lost sleep whenever he can. Yeah, you know what I mean. After doing this for several months, Deku meets with All Might back at the beach, where All Might tells him that due to his body being rigorously trained over the last few months, he believes he is now capable of inheriting One For All. Deku is, by this, extremely happy that he'd be able to gain the quirk that All Might seems unworthy. As All Might plucks one of his hairs from his head and says, "Eat this." Something Deku's definitely confused about. To which, yes, I'm gonna say that a lot, who cares? To which, All Might immediately had to clarify that the only way he can get the only way he can transfer his quirk to him is if he ingests part of his DNA. Even though he is a bit disgusted and confused by this, Izuku swallows the hair and allows it to digest in his system for a few hours. So while this happens, All Might says they're going to be doing a slight bit of sparring. It tells him that just to make sure he doesn't rip up his clothes, he brought some special clothing that allows the clothes to stretch with his body parts as they transform. Deku takes these and goes into a secluded area where he can change into his new clothing. Once he returns, All Might immediately rushes towards Deku to begin their sparring practice. Barely any time to react, Deku transformed his arm to absorb the impacts of the hit. And as he noticed that All Might was being semi-serious, he decided to do so as well and transform most of his body to become the werewolf. So they spar for the amount of time it takes for the hair to fully digest into Izuku's system. And it's during their sparring where Izuku accidentally activates One For All, causing his arm to break slightly, also send All Might back a fair way. Once he realized what he had done, he transformed back to normal and recoiled to the ground as he realized his arm was broken. As All Might rushed to him before he can, intending to land a punch on him. But as he saw the damage to his arm, he immediately stopped. Realized that he accidentally used 100% when Deku punched him. After some time, maybe about an hour or so, his arm fully heals back up, and it allows him to continue his training. But before they start again, All Might gave him the advice to let the power flow through your body so that it doesn't damage it. Right. After a few more months of training, Deku has managed to handle around, let's go with 3% of One For All. But due to still not knowing how it works, he only uses it to one part of his body at a time, so that he can minimize the damage while still being able to use the rest of his body without being debilitated. After some time of him doing this, All Might realizes what he's doing and stops their training for the day to give him some advice on how to properly use One For All, telling him that he's using One For All, one part of his body at a time, where he said to let the power flow through him equally. At this point, Deku mentally facepalms himself as he realizes that all this time he could have been using his power equally throughout his entire body, instead of using it all in one place at the same time. So at the revelation of this, while in his human form, he lets his power flow equally through him, giving him the capability of full cowling. At the same limits, he's only able to use full cowling at 3% at the moment. And as they start to train more, Deku would realize whenever he was training in his beast form, whenever he attempted to use full cowling, although he did have some difficulty, he was able to use it, but at a lower percentage, as he has to juggle using his transformation and his full cowling at the same time until he's able to do this, with no effort at all. And in the next video, we will be getting into the UA entrance exam. So, like, comment, and subscribe. If you want me to change anything, just tell me in the comments down below, blah blah blah. You know, that's normal stuff. So, I will see you next time. Peace.